Chapter 14, Revelation Unfolded, verse 1. And I looked, and lo, in the midst of this beast I saw as it were a lamb that stood on the Mount Zion, and with him were those of the 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. New Testament editors use the name Sion instead of the actual name Zion, which was used throughout the Old Testament, and which John intended for this part of his revelation. To early Christians who didn't understand what John was trying to express here, Mount Sion was the place they established by tradition where Jesus ascended up into heaven in sight of the apostles. Though modern religious scholars, who know even less than their earlier counterparts, argue amongst themselves as to the exact significance of Mount Sion, there is no mistake in how John intended its use. According to Jewish history, King David overthrew a great fortress of the Jebusites called Zion, which was situated in the land of Jerusalem, and later renamed the City of David. This fortress was built to protect the people and promote peace with their enemies. The Jews refer to the City of David as the birthplace of peace, thus renaming it Jerusalem, to symbolize the birth of the Prince of Peace. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, another city referred to as the City of David by the Jews. When the Jews renamed the City of David Jerusalem, they believed they were literally establishing a foundation of peace. Little did they realize that their prophesied Messiah would one day roam the streets of their great city, preaching the gospel of peace that they would reject. Furthermore, the term New Jerusalem is used by John to represent the peace that Christ will establish upon the earth during his millennial reign. Mount Zion and Jerusalem were used interchangeably by many of the Old Testament prophets, whose purpose in using the term was to illustrate a place of peace and righteousness. A song and psalms for the sons of Korah. Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion. On the sides of the north, the city of the great king. Psalms chapter 48, verse 1 to 2. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace, that bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation, that saith unto Zion, thy God reigneth. Isaiah chapter 52, verse 7. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Obadiah chapter 1, verse 17. In this verse, John is presenting the establishment and foundation of peace, Mount Zion, experienced by those in the world in the midst of this beast, who choose to live the gospel of peace, which is nothing more or less than doing unto others what they would want done unto them. These are those whose cognitive paradigm, thinking patterns, Father's name written in their foreheads, is structured around the gospel of the Lamb, creating peace and harmony by doing to others what one would want done to them in all situations. He numbers these as those who have heard the voice of the prophets and followed their counsel. As previously mentioned, the 144,000 represents the figurative expression of the number of people during the 6,000 years leading up to the millennium, who have heeded the words of the prophets, the 24 elders. See commentary on Revelation chapter 7, verse 4. In the next few verses, John describes this peace. Verse 2, and I heard a voice as if it came from heaven, even as the voice of many waters, and also the voice of a great thunder, and the sounds I heard were like unto the voice of harpers harping with their harps. One of the greatest mysteries of human emotion is why we think, why we seek beauty, and why we seek peace and happiness. Other animals in the natural world seek only to fulfill the demands of the instincts that motivate them. Our spirit is the name we ascribe to the unseen gaseous entity that enters into a body of flesh created by mortal parents. This entity enters our body upon our first breath. Our spirit has recorded all of our past experiences, and outside of mortality, our spirit exists with the ability to recall every experience that we have ever had. Before this life, figuratively, as if it came from heaven, we knew the plan the Creator had outlined for us. It was a plan of balance and harmony, and something that felt comfortable and right. This emotional knowledge is embedded in the molecules that make up our spirits. This should not be hard to understand. With the ability of modern science to program and create databases on a molecular level, can one imagine what science will be able to do in 500 more years? 1,000? 10,000? Stored information on DNA molecules unseen to the mortal eye gives enough proof that it is possible to store information on molecules of elements that are still unknown to mortals, which are these unseen elements that make up the spirit. Once a conscious being has experienced something long enough, a comfort level is reached. If this comfort level is breached by change, it creates feelings of confusion, depression, frustration, and a longing to undo the change and return to the pre-experienced or previous state of balance and comfort. If a creature exists for thousands of years, recording continual experiences of peace, equality, harmony, and joy, it would likely have some serious moments of imbalance and discontent if it were forced to live for a few years, 72 or so, in a completely different environment. Those on the earth who pay attention to their innermost feelings will hear the beat of a different drummer than those who only pay attention to what the world offers them. These do not hear a drum, but the gentle strum of a harp, which since its inception has always been one of the most soothing musical instruments to the mortal soul. John uses the expression harpers harping with their harps to show how the Spirit of God, or remembering the true nature of our spirits, will take away the evil, frustrations, depressions, miseries, etc. from our minds. He again borrows from Old Testament writings. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. And Saul's servants said unto him, Behold now, an evil spirit from God troubleth thee. Let our Lord now command thy servants, which are before thee, to seek out a man who is a cunning player on an harp. And it shall come to pass, when the evil spirit from God is upon thee, that he shall play with his hand, and thou shalt be well. And Saul said unto his servants, Provide me now a man that can play well, and bring him to me. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 14 to 17. The man found by Saul's servants was none other than David. And it came to pass, when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took an harp, and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed, and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 23. John used this symbolism to point us toward the son of David, a harp player, who has the ability to refresh us and cause the evil spirit to depart. The book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David. Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. Those people, voice of many waters, who listen to what they feel and remember outside of this world. voice from heaven, will hear a voice, speak as forceful as great thunder, the truth, but which will soothe their soul as does the music from a harp. Verse 3. And they sung, as it were, a new song to them, but before the throne, and before the 4 beasts, and the 24 elders, the song was not new. And no man could learn that song, but those of the 144,000, which were redeemed from the earth. Only those who listen to the voice of the prophets, 24 elders, will understand what the servants, angels, 4 beasts, are doing for our benefit upon this earth in mortality. These servants of the plan of God already know the song, and sing it in tune with the rhythm and beat arranged by the song's great composer. However, to those in mortality who choose to listen to its melody, it is as it were a new song to them, because of their inability to record their former experiences stored within their spirit. It is a song they are familiar with, and which they will sing while listening to the harper's harp. Isaiah said it beautifully. And the ransomed of the Lord shall return, and come to Zion with songs, and everlasting joy upon their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away. Isaiah chapter 35, verse 10. Verse 4. These are they which were not defiled with the woman who sits upon the beast, for they remain as virgins, committing no fornication with her. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These are the redeemed from among men, and are the firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb. In chapter 2, John first introduced the woman Jezebel as a representation of the wicked works of the world. It is with this woman that the people of the world commit fornication, or sleep in the bed with her. See commentary on Revelation chapter 2, verse 20 to 23. John again uses being defiled or committing fornication with the woman as a representation of those who are seeking after the glory, honor, and material things of the world. Once a person has heard the truth and begins to do what is heard instead of just listening and doing nothing, that person figuratively begins to bring forth fruit. The first fruits mentioned by all prophets are those things which are the first we do once we have come to a knowledge of the truth. When the truth is known, the pursuit of worldly education, pleasure, and worldly lusts are the first things overcome. Thus, those who have given these things up, virgins, who have not committed fornication with the woman, are like the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. James put it this way, using the same metaphor of our lusts conceiving sin in fornication. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted, when he is drawn away of his own lust, and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Do not err, my beloved brethren. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Of his own will begat he us with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Wherefore lay apart all filthiness, and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. James chapter 1, verse 12 to 22. Verse 5. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. One of the worst and most common human propensities is guile. Few pass through a day without using guile in some form. Guile is cunning behavior used to deceive people into thinking something that the beguiler does not really feel, usually in order to get something from another or to elicit a manipulated response desired by the beguiler. It is a clever skill used by most humans to get what they want. For example, guile is used to compliment a person in a way that is not really true, such as, "Yay, that skirt looks good on you. Don't worry about it," when to you, the skirt doesn't compliment the wearer. Another example is when a salesman presents a product without disclosing how much profit is being made. This is guile. These and many other forms of guile exist to perpetuate the beast. Guile opposes the royal law. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. All of those who use guile, for whatever reason, 99.9% of humans do, are at fault of adding to or creating unhappiness and misery for others. One of the reasons why others despised Jesus is because he did not use guile. He spoke the truth no matter whom or what it offended. John specifically included guile here to demonstrate what we all know to be an eternal truth that will always lead to peace and happiness. Honesty is the best policy. For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example, that ye should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21 to 22. Verse 6. And I saw an angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, to every nation, and kindred, and tongue, and people. The everlasting gospel is simply a guideline of how we should treat each other so that we will all have the same opportunity to experience joy and happiness, which is the reason why we exist. As he has all throughout his revelation, John uses the term angel here to represent those who have been given power and authority over what goes on here upon the earth. As previously mentioned, these angels are exalted beings far more advanced than any mortal. They come from other solar systems, some from other galaxies, to oversee the planets of this solar system, assuring that all things follow their outlined course of providing happiness for those who are assigned here. In these latter times, they have allowed the knowledge, fire, to come down from heaven, figuratively, to make it possible that every nation and kindred and tongue and people has the opportunity to learn of each other and to learn the things that are necessary to promote peace and equality, the forerunners of joy and happiness. As these latter times progress, the world will become more closely connected unlike any other time in its short human history. Through the means of communication being introduced, the day will come when every living soul will have access to knowledge, not necessarily the truth, but vast amounts of information. As we begin to experience the effects of this knowledge, we are able to discern the difference between what brings lasting happiness and what causes our stresses and unhappiness. All of our experience, understanding, wisdom, and knowledge that we gain in mortality will lead us to one ubiquitous conclusion. Doing unto others what we would have them do unto us in all situations is the only way to lasting happiness. This is the everlasting gospel of which John speaks. Verse 7, saying with a loud voice, Behold those who fear God and give glory to him. For the hour of your judgment is come. For ye worship not him that made heaven, and earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters. As the knowledge of this gospel spreads throughout the world, it becomes very apparent that the people of the world who claim religious affiliations actually worship God with their mouths, pretending to be of one sect or another, but do not treat each other with kindness according to the tenets of Christ's gospel. The universal teaching of love to which all religions make claim is preached but hardly ever practiced. Well did Isaiah prophesy. Wherefore the Lord said, Forasmuch as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. Isaiah chapter 29, verse 13. The religions of the world teach their congregations to fear God and give glory to him, but forget that God is not one to be feared, and that the only glory he ever expects comes as a result of one doing good works to another. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. The mission and purpose of Jesus Christ is to teach people how to love each other and treat each other correctly, so that one day we all might reside in eternal bodies in a place where we can fulfill the measure of our creation, happiness. In this he glorified God. Father, glorify thy name. Then came there a voice from heaven saying, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. John chapter 12, verse 28. I have glorified thee on the earth. I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do. John chapter 17, verse 4. Though they have been convinced otherwise, modern-day Christians perpetuate hate against the homosexuals, non-Christians, and those who choose to abort the flesh of their own bodies before the spirit enters therein. They generate many other biases and prejudices contrary to loving thy neighbor as thyself. The persecution of their neighbor, their fear of God, and the erroneous way in which they worship illuminates what they fear the most: damnation, ignorance, instead of salvation, knowledge of truth. As does every other religion upon earth, Christian sects exalt themselves above others who do not fit their description of righteousness. The Muslims believe the Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet to live upon earth, and worship him as they do Allah, which is the name for the Islamic God. The Hindus believe they are correct. The Buddhist disagrees. The whole world is filled with the gospel of what we should do, but few worship the true God who made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. Why? Because we are so involved in the grandeur and glory of the beast and that great city Babylon, which provides for our every desire and pleasure, that we pay no attention to the mark in our right hands and foreheads. As John reveals in the next verse, the angels have something to say about this abomination that makes our souls desolate. Verse 8. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is falling, even that great city, because she makes all nations that partake of her fornication drink of the wine of the wrath of God. Our actions are being observed by those who oversee the progression of this solar system. Each angel's mission is to assure that the plan written in the book of life is followed according to the eternal laws which have always and forever governed the universe. With their vast knowledge and experience, they understand the structured steps that we mortals will take upon this earth as we use our free agency, gaining the much-needed experience to help us find our happiness. This is why it is easy for them to show John the course that will be followed in the future, because the people have become selfish and family-centered. They are being devoured by the beast that has deceived them by the means of the miracles. See Revelation chapter 13, verse 14. They have ignored forgiveness, loving your enemies, doing good to others who hurt you, not judging or measuring another, and caring for the least among them. They have alienated themselves from each other and are in a self-protective mode of existence. When each person seeks only his or her own welfare, an emotional war ensues, which often leads to a physical war, where the combatants fight until each fall by the other's sword. John presents the falling of Babylon after the seat of the beast is set up in the latter days, and the world has begun to feel its effects. There is no denying that the United States' influence is felt worldwide. Its citizens consume more of the Earth's resources by far than any other nation in the world. She makes all nations partake of her fornication. Its consumption formulates and controls the world markets. It gives no forgiveness or mercy to its enemies, makes no excuses for itself, and is constantly engaged in expanding its economical presence throughout the world. From the commentary of Revelation chapter 6 verse 17, we understand what John refers to as the wrath of God. John has shown us the stages and effects of human development when we are left to our own devices with complete control over our environment and actions. Our Father and Creator does not get angry as we prefer to think, or have been taught by false leaders and teachers. John has led us to quite a different understanding of what is meant when we speak of the wrath of God, which refers to his non-intervention in the affairs of humankind. When we are undeserving, we are left to suffer the full effects of our self-imposed situations. He has taught us that when we do not live by the royal law, we do not receive the intervention or divine instruction from above through righteous and true prophets. The sun is darkened, no light or revelation is given, because of our wickedness. As a result of rejecting the prophets and killing them, the moon is turned into blood. This is the wrath of God. God's message of love and doing good unto others has no effect on our lives when we selfishly pursue what's best only for ourselves and our families. The farther we stray from compliance to his royal law, the more we become comfortable with the beast and its ways, and subsequently, the less we learn of God and his ways. We are left to ourselves to drink and become drunken from the wine we have poured in our own glasses, staggering as we fall. Verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand. Verse 10. The same shall drink from a cup of wine, which is a mixture of the wrath of God and his indignation, which is poured out upon the earth. And he who shall drink thereof shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. Verse 11. And the smoke of their torment shall ascend up before God for ever and ever. And they shall have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. These verses relate the emotional turmoil that will be felt by those who worship the beast when they are confronted with the truth. The people of the earth do not understand the mysteries of God or merit his intervention, the wrath of God, because of his indignation. Indignation is not anger in this instance, but annoyance because somebody or something seems unfair or unreasonable, which is how God views those who mistreat others. A cup from which the wicked drink their wine will not be clean, as they are reminded of their works and beliefs, wine, when the Lamb and the holy angels make their presence known. When the truth is known, those who have directly or indirectly, knowingly or unknowingly, caused unhappiness to another person will feel an embarrassment and torment, fire, and will be repulsed by the repugnant smell, brimstone, of what they have done with their free agency. These are those of whom Jesus Christ spoke when he said, "Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was an hungered, and ye gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in. Naked, and ye clothed me not. Sick, and in prison, and ye visited me not." Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee an hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did not to one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. Matthew chapter 25, verse 41 to 46. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. Matthew chapter 7, verse 21 to 24. These sayings of mine have nothing to do with going to church, praying to God, paying a tithe or offering, proclaiming the name of Christ or Muhammad, protesting abortion or homosexuality, or volunteering a minuscule amount of your overall life to obtain the feel-good sensation of, I have done good. These sayings are the gospel of Jesus Christ, and the guidelines he gave to teach us how to live in equality and peace. The entire rock upon which we should build our house is found in the gentle words of the Beatitudes, which are given exclusively in Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7. Anything other than these commandments are the commandments, precepts, and doctrines of men. These are the doctrines and precepts of those who want you to go to their church, pay them your money, proclaim a name they do not know, and protest and support efforts of hate and persecution. They do many things to justify the time you spend listening to these locusts and the money that you pay them. How great shall be the embarrassment of those who find out their Lord did not attend church or support any ordained minister. The tormented and embarrassed will be in the presence of a man who once lived on their earth, who is their Lord, and also in the presence of other exalted beings who have progressed far beyond modern humans, the holy angels. Christ loved his enemies, sinners, and friends equally, and will say to those spoken of above, I gave you the simple commandments, which were the will of my Father which is in heaven, who is also your Father, and you did none of them. The Lamb will not have to say, Depart from me, ye that work iniquity, because those who worship the beast, the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, yea, even every man who bringeth bondage upon another who is not free, shall hide themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. And these shall say to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, whose countenance we cannot bear. Revelation chapter 6, verse 15 to 16. Verse 12. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Verse 13. Blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, because they shall rest from their labors, because their works follow them. Those who listen to these sayings of mine, and doeth them, are those whose house is built upon the rock. No matter what the beast throws at them to deceive them, and disrupt their peace, in patience they remain steadfast, and immovable in keeping the commandments and counsels of Christ. These saints understand the will of the Father, as it is forefront in all their thoughts, the seal of God in their foreheads. They ridicule and judge none, worship none, fear none, and are unaffected by the vicissitudes created by the beast, and those who have received his mark. They experience the effects of Christ's promise. All things are delivered unto me of my Father, and no man knoweth the Son but the Father, neither knoweth any man the Father, or receives the seal of the Father in their forehead, save the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Matthew chapter 11, verse 27 to 30. Verse 14. And I looked, and behold a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. To understand who this one like unto the Son of Man is, we must refer to the scriptures already presented, and see from where John borrowed his metaphors. This one is a prophet of God. He has on his head a golden crown. And in the midst of the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. Revelation chapter 4, verse 4. Prophets were often referred to in Old Testament scripture as Son of Man, when being spoken to by a heavenly being. So thou, O Son of Man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the word at my mouth, and warn them from me. Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 7. This prophet is unknown by the people of the world, sits upon a cloud, which signifies his presence is kept obscure. But in his hand is a sharp sickle. Sickles were used in historic times to cut down the wheat. Then the kernels, which are nutritious, could be separated from the chaff, which has no nutritional value. John the Baptist prophesied of Christ. John answered, saying unto them all, I indeed baptize you with water, but one mightier than I cometh, the latchet of whose shoes I am not worthy to unloose. He shall baptize you with the Holy Ghost and with fire, whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor, and will gather the wheat into his garner, but the chaff he will burn with fire unquenchable. Luke chapter 3, verse 16 to 17. Like unto Christ, this prophet of whom John speaks bears his name, does the same works Christ did, and has the necessary tools in his hand to gather the wheat and burn the chaff. However, this prophet does what all prophets of God usually do after they are called. He sits with the tools in hand, sometimes in rebellion, humbly admitting that he is not worthy of such great responsibility and authority, the golden crown. The 24 elders fall down before him that sat on the throne, and worship him that liveth for ever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power. For thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are, and were created. Revelation chapter 4, verse 10 to 11. It takes an angel with a loud voice to convince the prophet to get busy doing what he was called to do. Verse 15. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in thy sickle, and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. The angel with a loud voice tells this modern-day prophet, the time is come for thee to reap. He is commanded to begin the process that will allow the separation of the wheat from the chaff. His sharp sickle is his knowledge of the mysteries of God that cuts down the doctrines and precepts of men, which encase the chaff, the hearts and souls, the wheat of humankind. As he presents truth, thrust in thy sickle, he destroys the strong stems, religions, and doctrines of men, which have grown out of the earth, and shield the wheat from the rain, revelation, and the light of the sun. Once the wheat stalks are cut down, they are threshed, which means they are crushed, and tossed into the air where the wind blows the chaff away, allowing the wheat to fall to the ground. This is the wind mentioned in Revelation chapter 7, verse 1. See commentary, that the angels were commanded to not allow to blow upon the earth. Once the people have heard the truth, those who heed it are as the separated wheat that will be placed in a secure granary, safe from the fire that will consume the harvested field. Verse 16. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and began to reap the earth. Verse 17. And when he stopped reaping for a season, another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle like unto the first. This modern prophet begins to do his job, but is sluggish in his efforts. In the beginning, he shrinks from his duties, stopped reaping, after he is rejected and persecuted by the beast. In order to help him, another angel is sent with the same tool, sharp sickle. Verse 18. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to the first that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. This time, an angel which had power over fire, the ability to give knowledge and truth to whomever the angel so chooses, comes out from the altar, the place upon which the people present their offerings to God. In other words, this angel does not come from heaven, but is already involved in his own mission upon the earth. He also cries with a loud cry, telling this prophet to thrust in thy sharp sickle. These servants of God, angels, are among the people of the earth, and only manifest themselves when they are needed to carry out the work planned for this earth and its inhabitants. Prophets have special access to their help, if and when it is appropriate to assure the prophet's mission is completed. The mission of this one like unto the Son of Man is to bear the name of Christ and reveal the truths and mysteries of God. His mission will seal those upon the earth who elect to serve God and keep his commandments in their foreheads, so that when the angels who hold the vials pour out the 7 plagues upon the earth, which John presents in the next chapters, these elect will not be affected. Verse 19. And the one like unto the Son of Man thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. This final prophet completes his job by presenting the truth to the world, much the same way it was told to Joel's contemporaries. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves, and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people, and the strength of the children of Israel. So shall ye know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her any more. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and a fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness, for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord dwelleth in Zion. Joel chapter 3, verse 9 to 21. The vine of the earth is the works of the people upon it. The fruit, what the works of the people produce, of this vine will be cast into the great winepress of the wrath of God, in that the truth will be withheld from them, because they give no heed to this final prophet. Neither God nor his servants will intervene in saving humankind from its own demise. Its fruit is crushed and trodden upon, creating a wine that inebriates the whole earth, causing all that drink from the same cup to stagger and fall. Verse 20. And the winepress was trodden without the holy city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. John borrows from the allegoric description he later uses of the holy city in Revelation chapter 21. The city has 4 walls of the same height, length, and breadth. The measurement he uses for the entire city is 12,000 furlongs, which means when divided into 4 walls, gives the product of 3,000 furlongs each for the length, height, and breadth of each wall. John describes the effects of the wicked works of the people, blood coming out of the winepress, as reaching over halfway up the walls, without the holy the city. 1,600 furlongs is over half of 3,000, signifying a constant majority of human works are corrupt and wicked. The bridle is what steers and directs the horse. In other words, because the people reject the truth, God does nothing, great winepress of the wrath of God, to help save them from the results of their works, blood, which lead them the horse bridles as they go. John has set the stage for the angels to withdraw their intervention and allow the world to reap the punishments it has brought upon itself. End of chapter 14.